How often should you change your workouts? Are you plateaued or is there something that you're missing? There are so many questions around the specifics around how many times should I train? What's the best rep range? What should I do if I can't hit X? Do I need to change the exercise? Do I need a new program? We don't actually need to change our workouts as often as we think. And I don't like to start there. I like asking targeted questions. What is the result you actually want? Are you training for a specific result? Do you want real physique change? Because general fitness gives you a lot more freedom to rotate things more often. If you're going in there for specific physique outcomes, you need more consistency and measurable progression, but also know what scale to measure on. Because when you start out, which is what gets us caught, all progress is pretty fast to start with. Like, it's notable. That is why we like changing up things. That's why we feel like what we did at the beginning that got us from A to B is the answer. But what will get you from B to C? So here on 100% Real with Ruby, again with a training episode, I need to speak about it so much more. It is the answer you are looking for and why you're not seeing the definition you want. You can diet all that you want, but until you change the way that you train, the way that you think about your training, the real results that you want, the ability to stay leaner without as much effort at a higher body weight. You can be a higher body weight and look leaner because you built more muscle. This is where we need to look, because if your goal is shape and definition, your exercises do matter. Exercise choice matters. So does programming. How are we progressing them? What are the bottlenecks? Have you built the foundations? Why would we change an exercise if you're still progressing at it? Or if there is still room in there for us to progress? It's just that we don't see it because we're seeing it as a plateau versus an opportunity to look at where are our weak links. Why can't we progress this? Sadly, I do see way too many people change their exercises too frequently. You need to keep your main lifts there over a long period of time. I don't know the last time I had a program without leg press in it or without RDLs in it. Crazy. Like the main lifts, wow. But that also doesn't matter how many different exercises you do or what results you want if you're not feeding for it either. So instead of asking how often should you change your workouts, we need to know what result you're chasing. What are the exercises that lead to that? So when I ask my clients for physique-based goals or performance-based goals, I don't want to know, I want to lose this much. That doesn't give me all that much detail. I want to know what specific muscles that you want to focus on in this period. Like, what do you want to see change? And that isn't going to be the goal. That's just going to guide us towards what our goal is. Once we've established what physique changes that you want, what performance changes you want, like if you want to get better at squatting so you can feel more confident in it. If you want, the performance goals can be even being able to do particular movements without back pain, without knee pain. And that is why proper programming matters, because your programming can help with that. Your programming can help with feeling stiff in the hips too, because training effectively ensures that you build flexibility and mobility. It's more effective than stretching, way more effective than stretching. Mobility typically is a bottleneck of people not being able to hinge, not being able to brace, which impacts more than just a deadlift. You need to hinge for rows. You need to hinge for so many other movements, like your squats demand it. Your split squats demand it. Your glute hypers demand it. Otherwise, you're not going to grow glutes. You're not going to grow hamstrings or quads. And your back is going to take the toll even when you're doing rows, because you're not able to get your hips into a position where your pelvis is stable. So now you're able to engage the right muscles. And these are all the things we need to look at over time as we progress. And those are the things that you're typically developing the skill of, the execution of, the technique, the stability, the setup. We're learning all of that within the first few months. And then from there, we're able to progressively overload it. We're able to improve it. You're getting better at that skill. So it's going to increase on paper. And that's why we need to look at the broader context of progression. How can we milk the most out of those lifts? This is where I always say, when I do coaching, I don't just look at the training program and the food. It's about you as a whole person. Because when you have all these outside elements that fill up your life and fill up your cup, then we don't have to look to the gym for a constant source of entertainment. And we we'll get so much more motivation, so much more drive to do something when we're seeing progress from it, which is why we need to not even look at the newbie gains that we gain. But once you start to see your physique continue to progress to get past sticking points, it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. And that is what we want. It's less about something being boring, because I would say boring would be doing the same cycles over and over again of not seeing results, or trying really hard, getting frustrated at yourself. But no, it's not like that. What I want you to keep in mind is slower progress doesn't mean that something isn't working, and your weight's dropping off even doesn't mean that it's not working. There are so many factors that come into the presentation of strength. Sometimes there's a lot of fatigue accumulating. Like at the moment, because I have quite a lot of volume of pressing movements, it's going to be hard for quite a few of them to progress. Like my leg press isn't going to be going anywhere anytime fast. I just keep trying to aim for the same reps. So I'll do like rest pauses to get there. I just see what I did the prior week. If I think I have more in me, I'll go for more. But I don't care going up and down and titrating there, because I know that I'm putting in my max effort. It's going to do something. So that's just something to keep in mind in all this. Like, I want to bring nuance into it all, and I can't do that in an Instagram post. The more that I can get you to understand this, I feel like it's going to stop you falling for the quick fixes on there. Like, just do this exercise to get the upper glute. Like, ugh. Regardless, your goal is actual body composition change. We need to keep the main movements in there a lot longer than you think. The right time to change those depends on your goal. Has your goal changed? Even if that goal change, it doesn't mean overhauling the whole program. It might mean a few adjustments here and there. Are you progressing? Does the movement still get along with your body and your recovery? Because sometimes it might be a little bit too demanding for your body right now and taking away from the other lifts. That's why I ditched actual deadlifts. And I just recently ditched the stiff leg deadlift as well, because that was taking a lot out of me, and it wasn't solely for my glutes. The floating deadlift is a much better variation. And if you're wanting to change something because you're bored of it, then that is different. But if it's as simple as, I am so bored of doing the same like friggin' skull crushes or tricep extensions, then cool. For some of my clients, I just say tricep exercise of choice, but make sure you're sending it to failure and that it's the same movement pattern, because I taught them about the movement pattern side. Then we want to have that movement pattern in there, and you can just pick anyone you want. It doesn't matter, as long as you're using a proper working weight. That's why knowing how to do a proper warm-up set is going to be the answer. You should always do warm-up sets to gauge your working sets anyway. Some exercises may only require one. You're making it way too hard to progress and even measure progress if you're changing it that frequently. You also need to consider your dieting state. If you're in maintenance, you're not going to progress as fast as in a surplus, but you are going to progress. That's what body recomposition is. We need a different word for it. I call it building. And then I call this area like recomping, building, recomping. Actually, that's what I should call it. This is the recomp phase. That's the faster building phase. The surplus building. That's the deficit, where you're not building. You're not, like, maybe for the first week, you might still have a little bit there in you, but you're lucky not to lose any muscle when you're in a deficit, especially if you're over 30. But you're not going to build in a deficit. You're just not. You're training that. This is why building up a training capacity is the answer. This is why changing your workouts too frequently is going to sabotage you, because you're never going to build up that training capacity, that training volume. And I don't mean doing more reps, doing more sets. I mean overall training volume within kind of like the same time constraint. You're never going to do that if you're always changing it, which I had a rant just before on all these specific little glute movements, like get these specific fibers, these cable kickbacks, this specific step back. Like, I think cable this and banded that and specific glute medius and glute minimus, like all that stuff, like just stop thinking about it. It's stupid. And I'll tell you why. Yeah, it has a place, but not right now. You need to focus on building general mass in your glutes first. You cannot dictate the shape of your glutes from the get-go. You're better off building an overall glute shape, because glutes are mostly made out of fat. You can't see the muscle that's there. That's why a lot of people lose their glutes. It's the same as boobs. People are like, I lost my boobs when I lost weight. Your ass is the same. Did you think of that? Both of them are pretty much fat. The difference is that you can actually build your glutes. You can't build your boobs. The body doesn't really care about workouts feeling fresh either way. They care about progressive overload. And that's what I'm just about to talk about, because Main compounds are key hypertrophy lifts. RDLs, like I mentioned, and we can talk about upper body as well. A lot of you want to build your back, build your delts, but we're talking mostly about the thing that women struggle with, and that's legs. And accessories, you can rotate a lot more often if needed. I do that quite a bit for my clients. I'm always doing the same type of accessories for myself, but sometimes I'll just change between the same machine that I always use or the same cable that I always use. So that's the summary of that one. Now, changing your whole setup. I just want to touch on the changing of the program thing though, because this is where a lot of people find themselves trapped with apps. You should never have a whole program overload. There's still going to be similar movement patterns through it because the basics are the basics. Keep progressing on that. I have a lot more flexibility with changing things in that sense, but most clients who come to me want to take their bodies to the next level. They want to see changes in their glutes. So that's what we work on. And it's the continual reminder that you're not going to keep seeing progress every single week. Let's add in some advanced techniques. Let's get some microplates if you want to. But otherwise, let's just really focus on the execution and you're going to see some progress there. I just want you to focus on taking it closer to failure every single time and you're going to get there. That is why they are seeing changes they've never seen before. I always have clients saying that they're training at new levels of intensity that they've never had before. One of them only just had the click that that's why they're feeling so run down all the time, because they're still trying to keep in their current life load and their current cardio load, even though I said to scale it all the way back to like nothing for now. And then we can bring in the running because her life is too full right now. But the recovery demands increase dramatically once you start training like someone who wants to change their body composition. And that is why I'm not a fan of putting in a shit ton of cardio in fat loss phases. In fact, I rather minimize it because I want all of that energy going into your training. I just want you putting all of that energy outside of training into steps, into more movement. Because otherwise you're going to have a slower metabolism and your deficit is never going to work because you're so drained that your body is going to hold on to more energy. That's what it does. That's what energy conservation does. And it doesn't always apply. Your body isn't going to hold on to energy if you're giving it the rest and recovery it needs and you're giving it that kind and gentle care because now your nervous system is relaxed. That is a huge important point. Apps love selling you constant changes because they don't have the coaching element. They need to keep you paying for their program because why pay however much for an app and they need to make their money if they're not going to change it for like a whole year or at least for 4 months? Like that's boring shit. I know some apps where they don't change your program, but you can cycle through them at whatever frequency that keeps you caught in the same trap. I just also want to say if exercises are causing pain, then we do need to address that, but we don't want to avoid the movement, regress it, address some things around it. The fatigue cost is really important. Going into a diet phase is really important. Sometimes I'll change clients to machines instead because it's a lot less strenuous and we can actually still push ourselves at a higher level. And that's how we can keep getting stronger and progressing. Because my goal is to just maintain muscle because that's the hardest thing there. I also want to add on to this one huge benefit of not changing your workout so much is that you can walk into the gym and not have to second guess things. You know where things flow and go in your session. So take that in mind. Now, I want you to look at your program and match it up to what you believe your physique weaknesses are. Let's talk about progression in this. Instead of asking about changing your program, what I want you to start asking is what has happened on those lifts that are going to drive the main results that you want. Don't just look at the load increasing or the reps increasing. Get your training footage and see how much they've improved. Your ROM, your stability, your execution. And if they are something that is going to keep driving the lift, then let's go harder on it in a different way, but not by changing it every 4, 6, 8 weeks. It's when we actually need to do a change. Unless you're really, really bored, then we can like change the exercise order, change something small there. But most of the time it's because we're so bored because we're not progressing something, because I understand that feeling. But for me, it's just like, I love the feeling of pushing myself. And I find that rest pauses help with that sometimes. As long as you're okay with not always having the logbook go up. I don't just blow up a program because someone feels like they're bored or something. And I never just overhaul it in general. I'm always making the tweaks along the way based off what I've spoken about before. Where are the weak links? Is something coming in the way? Is there something else we need to address because they're having trouble hinging? I finally see a video of something and they're not using their glutes properly to pick up a deadlift. So we need to address something else. Or they can't hold their lats tight when they're doing a deadlift. Many times it's just giving better cues, better execution, better setup cues. Now, rep schemes also blur the whole signal that your body gets because it makes it harder for your body to learn the movement. Training is sending your body the question, over and over again, every single time you show up. Can you do this movement with this load for this many hard, effective reps, at least the same as last time? And what signal is it sending? Because your technique improving, your confidence improving, and your ability to produce force in that pattern for that rep range is what your body is going to read. It's just like when you're trying to get better at batting or throwing a ball. If I keep changing the distance or the type of ball or the target size, you're not able to get used to that very ball. And that's the same as changing the rep ranges, because training needs to be specific. You're going to get, like, my coach is an example. When he squatted, he could do 100 and I think he said 155 for 10 to 12 reps. But when he tried to train for a 3 to 5 RM, he couldn't get more than 160, I think 165 on the bar. That is a huge gap. And that's because it requires a different neural patterning. Strength is not only muscle, it is also a skill. It interrupts muscle learning. When you jump from 5 reps to 12 reps to 20 reps, you're not progressing the same stimulus. That's why most women don't know how to use lighter reps. Most women don't even know how to use the heavier reps, because if you're chopping and changing, it's hard to build your weight using them effectively, one. But with heavy reps is a skill, and that also is something that needs time under the bar for a long period of time. You need to build your way up to that, because that requires so much neural learning. You need to know how to brace, how to coordinate your joints, how your muscles coordinate, how to, once your lower threshold motor muscle fibers tap out, how to tap into those deeper, higher threshold ones, and how to grind, how to get to that grind without losing the position. You don't need it to look like a clean rep. Mine don't look like clean reps for the last 2-ish. But as soon as I know that my form is literally just trash after it's icky, that's when I'm done. I don't mind getting to that level now, because I've built my way up to that. And that's where the industry gets things wrong too. It's like, oh, well, your form's crappy and they're set there. No, you want to push so your form's a little dodgy, but you want to make sure that you built up the capacity to handle it and not have your body crumble under load. The learning gets better when you repeat the practice under the same conditions. And we also need to keep in mind that your strength is dictated by all the other conditions in your life. It's a whole stress bucket. It's not just dictated on how your training has been or how your food has been. The stimulus needs to become meaningfully harder or better for you to progress. And it's not linear. It's not linear. It never is linear. So that's something that I want you to keep in mind moving forward. It's not about a particular rep range, changing your program, specific numbers or durations of doing things. It's not about how much you can cram into a workout. We need to start looking at what it is you are doing in there, how effective your reps are, and your mindset going through that. Are you pushing them close to failure, and have you been doing them for long enough? We want to change things for a reason, change reps for a reason, not because the calendar says 4 weeks are up. I'm not saying never change them. That is the main message. I'm not saying never change your exercises or never change your reps. You want to do it for a reason, not because it's a new month or because you're bored, so-and-so. That's why it's so important to know where you're heading, what your actual goal is, and realizing that the leaner physique that you want, the fat loss, the leanness, that is all about your training. It's not about your diet. So you should freaking care about what your goals are within the gym. It shouldn't be all about looks and physique goals, because it's your performance that drives physique. Performance drives physique. Your goal is muscle. Hope this helps. If you have any other questions around this, give me a message on Instagram, transformxruby, and I will get back to you. But I'm not going to give you ads. So please support my podcast, get it out there, send it to someone, rate me 5 stars, give me some feedback, give me some messages. Hey, I love this stuff, so it will mean the world to me. If you want to hear someone on the podcast, let me know, or reach out to them and say, oh my God, you should go on Ruby's podcast. This is what she talks about. Okay, love you all, and I cannot wait to hear the changes you start to make in your mindset towards your training, because it really does make a difference.